Demetrius Robinson. I'm 18 years old. I'm a junior. I do Phillips High School. I play baseball, basketball. My question is, what do you all as a whole and individual plan to enlighten us on by the end of this summer?
What's up?
Say, Mr. Robinson. Again, my purpose for being here, what I want you to leave, is what I want you to understand. If we can do it, you can do it. Everything and all the accomplishments that the brother had mentioned up here, we were able to go through the process of high school, college, graduate, get degrees. I want you to know, I want you to leave believing that you can do it. One of the hardest things for me is, and Mr. Shorehorn said earlier, man, I need my bio, because when I read this, I wrote my bio when I submitted it. It was submitted. But when I read it here, they said that the panelists had to verbally present their bio. It's challenging for me to get up and present my bio. It's challenging because at the young age of 35, I've been blessed to experience a lot of things in life. And I don't remember it all, just verbally speaking. But I come here with the suit, dressed up, to let you know that this could be you one day, mentoring other young brothers. And that's what I want you to leave knowing, that you can do it too.
Hey, Mr. Robinson. For you and everybody else, individually, I hope that it's not what we expect to accomplish up here. I believe it's about what you want to walk away with individually. Alright? So if you got questions or something you need to talk about, this is the place, this is the time. Make this more unique. We see these forums all over the city every day, all day. So make this one special for you. Walk out with something that you didn't have before you walked in here. And I'm sure everybody in this audience, some of us at this table, there's some things we need.
I have a question for you all, and that's a good question. By a show of hands, how many of you have fathers in your lives? Active fathers. I'm not talking about you all born of a father, but you all have active fathers in your life. It seems like the majority of them do, and you're blessed. Because unfortunately, the brothers that we deal with, Paul, Julius, and myself, don't have it. So basically, all I want to give you is basically the same things that your fathers have been giving you. And just to reiterate that, or add some light to that, and probably just reinforce what they've already been telling you. I see a lot of you already in shirts and ties and blazers, and I don't see too many pants sagging or anything, and not that there's a problem with that. But it's obvious that by you being here, you've already been given a good foundation. I see a lot of you now, even as I'm talking, making eye contact with me. Based upon that, it says to me that you've already been given a good foundation. So based upon what you need to look, whatever question maybe Dad didn't have the answer to, or you are not ashamed to ask Dad, or something that you're dealing with, you have to understand you're given this opportunity for a purpose. And unfortunately or fortunately, you may never get this opportunity again before you make the choice or decision that you needed the information to make before you did it. So we're here to give you whatever it is that's on your heart, whatever it is. You want to talk about racism. You want to talk about bogus police. You want to talk about the deaths and the carnage that's going on in our community. You want to talk about teenage pregnancy. You want to talk about underage sex. You want to talk about homosexuality and lesbianism. You want to talk about why the churches in our community aren't doing anything. You want to know about religion and God and who Jesus Christ was versus who Muhammad was. Whatever it is that you want to know, you can walk away from what I've gathered from this panel. You can get that information. You want to know what prison is like. You want to know what it's really like aside from what you see on lockup on NSNBC. You want to know from these brothers that have served time in and outside the state of Illinois. If that's what you want to know. If you want to know how the juvenile system works, which for a lot of you will be the first place you decide to go to, if you decide to make that choice, you have that up here. So whatever questions, you got a brother up here who has been found that he's divorced. You want to know about bad relationships and making the wrong choices with women from a grown perspective. Whatever it is that you want to know from another black man to another black man, y'all have the opportunity
in here believes that knowledge is power? Raise your hand if you believe that to be the truth. Raise them high, you can see them all. If you believe knowledge is power, raise your hand. All the adults, if you're convinced that knowledge is power, I need to see those hands. Okay, put it down, because you're wrong. So I'm going to give you this, because we oftentimes are confused with the fact that knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. The use of knowledge is power. Now, I want you to be confused, because how many of us know better but don't do better?
You're right.
So you knowing it don't mean a thing. It's what you do with the knowledge that you attain, and that's what we're here for. I'm going to give you 3 jewels. Everybody know what a jewel is. A diamond, a ruby, a very vital. The first thing I'm going to give you is this, an attentive ear. An attentive ear means what you hear. Because sometimes y'all be listening, but you're not hearing. There's a difference.
No.
The other thing I'm going to give you is an instructive tongue. What is an instructive tongue? It means what do you say out of your mouth? I used to always tell my kids this, my sons. I said, you have to understand you got absolutes in the world. When I talk about absolute, definitely know it's an absolute. Once you're gone, you're gone. Ain't no coming back, right? That is an absolute. Another absolute is what you say out of your mouth. Because once you say it, you can't get it back. And that's what I talk about as instructive tongue. One of the things that people have to understand, the words definitely hit harder than a fist. Do not be confused. You can say some stuff out of your mouth that will kill. The other thing is a faithful press. That means the heart. I'm going to go over one more time. A faithful press is the heart. An attentive ear means that you listen, and instructive tongue means what you say. Because ultimately, we talk about having good fathers. I was a great father. Not a good one. I was a great father. I went to work every day to provide for my children. Every single day I got up and I went to work. I made a choice between my children and doing else. I chose them. And I went to work and provided for them with great life. My son, I went camping. Every year, 10 years, we went camping, we pitched tents. We went to Wisconsin, we went down the hill in Chicago. I never missed a parent-teacher conference meeting. If they got hurt, I took them to the doctor. I nursed them. I licked their wounds like they did what I was supposed to do. My son, with all of this information, chose a different path. So I always say that ultimately our job, teach you right and wrong. We're going to give you choices and options. And we're going to teach you value. We're going to do all of these things, but ultimately, you have to make a good decision. Because we can do everything in the world for you, but if you do not take this information and make a good decision, what we're giving you, it doesn't matter. That's why we keep saying it's about you. It's about you. Because we can do all of these things, but ultimately, if you don't make a good decision, once you get this information, the end results are the same. Jail, institutions, and death. Talk a little real quick about programming. I always talk about the concept of programming. That's what I put together with this particular board back here. Because for so long in the African-American community, we talk about the white man and that man on the problem. Because that's how we've been programmed. But if you look at this particular image, it comes from a book called From Niggas to Guys. And the reason that I put this here is because all the time we get confused as to who the real enemy is, who we really need to be fighting. And when you break down enemy, you're going to say inner me, inner self. You have to first identify who the enemy is before you can even begin to fight in that long wheel. And one of the things with this particular image is you notice he just got a couple of puppets. So that means that he's setting the world straight. So I often say to young people, where will you be? Will you identify who the true enemy is? And once you identify him, you then start to fight and battle so that you can win. We can do all of this stuff up here, but if you do not make good decisions based on this information that we give, ultimately you will have to suffer consequences. And again, I said it again, once we give it to you, it's on you. If y'all don't get it from us, then it's on us. And we're doing that by being here. So now let's take an opportunity to really go through a process, what it is that you really want to know. Because again, we say, I say when I do mention, I want all the degrees, I want a lot of degrees, but I want some of you cats who have been to the penitentiary, so I need you to tell me how to stay out. I got a hand, come on. Can I come up? You can come up.
want to know what's the hardest thing y'all been through as far as spiritually, at home, and in the streets, and how did y'all overcome it? Like the hardest thing that y'all felt like y'all was gonna never come through.
Hardest thing. I'm gonna give you the hardest thing. When they knocked on my door at 5:06 in the morning.
Come back. You can't finish answering.
Okay. Okay. What about you?
What about me?
Well,
I've always been a good boy. I cared about what I never wanted to do anything that my mother would feel bad about. So the hardest thing for me was telling them that I had given up Christianity and became a Muslim. I changed my name from the one she gave me with love and chose the one that I thought was more suitable to my personality. Over time, they came to realize that I had not changed from the person that I was, but that the person that I had become was just as good, more intended to do good by others and to give up the foolishness. Because as a teenager, you think you're invincible. You think that nothing can happen to you. And then over time, I had this friend named Matt Pierce. Matt Pierce tried to beat this train across the track. That train knocked half his back off. And it didn't go back. And it gave us an understanding of what you do. That was a question you're asking, man. What you do matters. I haven't, praise the Lord, had to go through the trials and tribulations that my brother Jerry has. I got 6 sons, 1 daughter. And I would not want to know that experience. But I'm feeling in his attempt to answer your question honestly, he couldn't even get to question 1. But he still was able to put all of that behind and come here and try to lean towards the better experience of everybody that's assumed. I thank you for answering that question. I mean, I have not had anything as difficult. I had some hard times, but the hardest thing I would say was disappointing from my mother and family at the time. But now, they're proud of me. My mother was 88 years old. One of 8 children. All of my mother's children are still alive. The baby's 51. So praise the Lord for that, and make your parents proud of you. So that when somebody asks you that question, you won't have an answer like that you're a boy.
spiritually, hardest thing was, like I said, that call to God. It was to give up my will and seek out His will. So it's about putting away what paths or things I desire to set for my life, and allow Him to direct me. That meant giving up weed, girls, even giving up life, right? Yeah, we do these things quietly. So, as far as at home, the hardest thing that I had to come through was, while incarcerated, my mom went through a divorce from my stepdad. And on top of that, she got sick, and she ended up in a coma for almost 60 days. So I had a little brother and a little sister here in Chicago. I'm the oldest child. I can't contribute anything to help. So I'm stressing myself out, wondering how my family is going back here and living in the shelter. It's just madness, right? And as far as the streets, the hardest thing for me in the streets is not the time when I was in them, but since I've been out doing what I do now with the young men like you are. The hardest thing in the street is when you got to get that phone call. The same phone, almost the same phone call that Mr. Cherry is hard to talk about. These are not physically my sons, but when you get that call and I lose them, they dead. Mom called and say that this boy is gone. Or dad calls and say, he got a bullet in his back. I got 2 baseball players right now, one with a bullet in his back and one with one in his chest, 14 and 13. So those are the hardest things.
I'm ready. Okay.
about is the support system that you guys have in place. And I always talk about Willie Lincoln because one of the things that I realized, for you guys who are unfamiliar with him, he was a slave owner many years ago who said he had a formula to keep niggas slaves for 300 years. And one of the things he did was put in place, he would take the old in the yard. You know how y'all get on the bus and act such a fool after school? And then all those adults be there and it's like they're not there. That's because there's no respect. The same thing, lights off. The other thing, fat and skinny, that sort of thing. There's always a problem. And then he put men against women. So oftentimes women don't deliver, or that's women don't go out. But it was a formula that was put in place many years ago. And it still affects us. That's why I talk about keeping slaves. Same thing happens with gang violence. The thing we have to realize is what we want to do. If you think about it, you got a gangster cycle here, you got a vice lord here, they don't know one another, they don't know each other's history, they don't know each other's family, but they've been programmed to dislike one another without ever meeting each other. So that's being programmed. So you have to think about what this society has to do. And that was the hardest thing to keep was to look at my son and show that I know all of these things, and then have to identify. And then put it behind me and come and say to you that even though I gave my life, you don't have to do your take the information that you're today and use it. Because knowledge is not power, but a lot of them use love from knowledge. All the time, we know what consequences we still do it. It's the use of knowledge. But once you get it, that was how you go into the thing. It's a big time.
He's not coming over. Carl.
It is rare that a young man like you ask a question dealing with spirituality. So obviously there's some foundation. It's rare that I would even get to an act of spirituality. I was born and raised in the church. So the hardest thing for me with spirituality, I want to say is this: not doing the things that I want to do and accepting what God has for me to do. That was hard. Because yes, I used to love the party and women and all that. In my mind, it became an athlete, especially on the college level. Almost lost my 4-year scholarship because I love to drink alcohol. Lost the game, that was an excuse to go get drunk. We won the game, that was a reason to go celebrate and get drunk some more. Missed the practice because I was hungover. My coach found that when we first went in, as freshmen, we signed a contract. We were not in the drugs out, and I violated that rule. I was actually taken. I begged for another chance, and I learned. As far as the streets, the hardest thing in ministry, when you do things like this, and being a probation officer, and you work with young people, the job trains you of what to do. Legally. Do step 1, step 2, step 3, as far as violation and things like that. But as far as working with young people, I created my own. I'm not working with young people as a probation officer. I'm working as a mentor. I'm working as a father. Okay, where a young man didn't have a father in his life. The hardest thing for me is to pour in and pour in and pour in and continue to pour in after violation number 1, violation number 2, continue to pour in. And then you get a phone call and you pick up a new case, and now they're making another justice for 7 days alone. They've been sentenced to the Illinois Department of Juvenile Justice. That's hard. Because you can lose focus. You can lose hope after pouring in so much. So that's challenging for me, being an individual. Because as I said, I was born and raised in the church. I was raised by my mom. I did not have my mom. And so that's why I love doing things like this, because I want to give myself freedom. That's the assignment that God has given me, and I accept it. God had to deal with me a lot before I got to where I am today. Once I realized what He had for me, here am I to do what I'm doing today. But it's like I said, when you pour in and pour in, even with my own kids, pour in and pour in and pour in, but they make the wrong decisions and do the wrong things. It's like, why didn't I take it up? So that's challenging. But I vow to the Lord, I'll continue to do this. I'm never going to give up. All right?
Thank you. What's your name?
Deanna. Can you guys hear me? No, this is as loud as I'm going to speak. If you can't hear it, it's not going to be here. I put it like that. Personally, I went through a custody battle for my youngest son, and I lost him.
Praise God.